Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing fantastically well. It is Connor here, and we are back with your review of the game. Sorry if this looks a bit grey and a little bit off colour. That is the green strip. It's just the green screen morphing into the top. As I say, hope you're all doing really well. After that, let me know exactly what you think. Mind the Sky visuals. Say I'll take the point. I will be back tomorrow, everybody, with a final word where we'll be discussing absolutely everything, really reflecting on the game. The table's just come up now. Leeds on 33, 34 points. Obviously, you're probably looking at Everton now, 32 games played, a game in hand, and 29 points. I don't know. But guys, as well, thank you so much for joining the BETMATE League. League will be releasing the winners in the final word tomorrow. It was a mad night. I think we got a lot of winners in there tonight. So well done if you won and got the score right. I mean, I would never have predicted a 0-0, but there we go. We'll be touching on that tomorrow with the leaderboard. But yeah, I don't know, really. I've got notes written down here, the chronological order of everything, but I think we'll go through that tomorrow in the final word. But overall, I'm all right with it. I'm okay with it. I think we needed a win. And when you isolate it and you think of Crystal Palace, a 0-0 draw away from home with them this season, with how good they've been. Listen, I know they're only 4 points above us, but they've also lost 5 less games than us, and they've got a style of play. And when they're on song, they can devastate any team, like we've seen with Arsenal, we've seen with Tottenham Hotspur, we've seen even with Man City when City really struggled and arguably could have lost to them at Selhurst Park. So it's a good point when you take it into isolation. But I think when you look at where Leeds are, you look at everything encompassed, the 3 games that we've got coming up, 3 of the top 4. It just seems like, and I thought it'd be a difficult one. I said on the debrief, I thought we'd lose 2-0. But I thought it'd be a really difficult one tonight because Palace are a good team. They are a good team. And I think you saw a little bit of that tonight. And that's not giving Palace too much credit because I didn't think they were that good. But I think they've just got a little bit more quality than we have. I think we all saw that, especially towards the back embers of the game. And I think you saw a press from Crystal Palace, which really unnerved Leeds throughout. We weren't able to get any passing sequences sorted. We weren't able to get any succession of play, really, and galvanise any clear-cut chances throughout the match. I think I saw a stat, aside from the Joe Gelhardt sort of speculative effort, we didn't have a shot on target. And I know Palace didn't have that many, but they had a lot of sort of a fair few near misses towards the end. The Melier double save, the Gallagher half volley just over the crossbar. So, yeah, it was a tough game, I thought, for Leeds. Attritional in terms of it was a war, and we did quite well to get the point, of course. But, yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll know in the coming days, won't we, whether or not that'll be a good point. But it just feels to me that needed to be a win. I must not lose, but it just felt with the games we've got coming up, and in those 3 games that we've got coming up, the 3 games that Burnley and the 3 games that Everton have aligned with our 3 tough games, it just seems like we needed it there for me. Evening, Connor. Evening, David. Hope you're all right, mate. Final pass was awful, says Carl. I'll take a point, though. Nightmare to watch. Hate this game. Marsh's philosophy, says Josh, really isn't taken to the Leeds players. Looks so dysfunctional. Yeah, and listen, I get a lot of people turning around and saying, Connor, it's all about the results. But everybody, to get a result, you need to have good passages of play. You need to be able to work the ball in the opposition's box. You need to work the goalkeeper. You need to put the fullbacks on the back foot. That's how you curate chances. That's how, the XG goes up. That's how you're able to, galvanize and really create and essentially take your chances. That's if a style of football isn't sort of working, and you are essentially just sort of hoofing the ball to a small man up top, which I think for a large part of those minutes that was sort of how the game was playing out. That's not really, even if we are just playing for the result, that's not going to get you the desired result. Because I even think Jesse Marsh looked a little bit frustrated, maybe a little bit towards the end when Palace were really coming on to us. A Palace side who have nothing to play for. And I just felt like I think with that sort of notion of it's all about getting the points, and quite right it is, but if you're able to pass through the lines, if you're not getting rid of the ball consistently, if you're not just looking to hoof the ball up the pitch and all of this sort of stuff, how are you going to be able to create chances? That is my rebuttal to that sort of argument. Sloppy passing, dismal. I would agree, mate. Seems like a lot of people are a little bit disappointed with that. I hated every single solitary second of that, says Aaron. Thanks for your donation, buddy. Jordan says that looked like 10 players that have never played with each other take a point, though. And I think that is how it looked against Watford, isn't it? And on reflection, we might turn around and say it was a good point. I don't want to be negative. It's a good point, and that's what I keep saying. If you just joined the stream, it is a good point, but I just don't know with the games coming up where Palace really had nothing to play for in that game. They had absolutely nothing to play for. The games that we've got coming up, they are 3 out of the top 4, So yeah, it's just a lot to look forward to, isn't it? In terms of just the caliber of opponents. Hi, Ian. Hope you're all right, mate. The passing isn't crisp at all. It's dire. Yeah, I think we all know that it's a difficult one to watch, isn't it? I think we're poor, but we still got a point. I guess it's just whether or not you think a point is enough. Dan's in the building and says, "Hey mate, tough watch. It feels worse than the result." I do think that's a decent point. I really struggle to see Everton making 5 up. Dan, I would just say to that, mate, when you've got a better goal difference, it's 4. So that's what everyone needs to remember when it comes to Everton. And that's not me being negative. That's the factual points. If we're ending on the exact same points and the goal difference is as it is now, where there's a 9 goal difference between the two sides, Leeds go down. So it's 4 points. So I think people do forget the goal difference side of this thing. It's a big thing. It's a big thing. Robin's in the building and says a second clean sheet in a row. I'll take it because Selhurst Park is a difficult, huge point. Says Luke couldn't settle the ball. Millie Vanilli said blame it on the rain. Match on together. Hannah's in the building. Dread to think what happened on Saturday if we could play like that. The Sorore guy, hello mate. Good point. Connor Cooper and Ayling played well. Really, Ayling, yeah, Ayling. I thought. I don't know on Ayling. Yeah, I'm not sure on Luke Ayling. I don't know. Tough one. Melee and Uente on positives. James said it's too early to slate Marsh. You can't expect a man to come over in such a short period of time in the middle of the relegation scraps and expect. No one's slagging him off, James. No one said a word of that. We're just talking about the game and the style of football that we saw there, which wasn't ideal. And you're not gonna. I think you need to create chances to score goals. And in that game, I just thought that. Yeah, I might look back. I think I've been pretty fair here. As I've said, I think in isolation it's a decent point, but no one's slating Marsh. I think it is just it's difficult when any single time you're getting the ball at the back, it is just hoof. And a few nice passages of play through the lines, but I think ultimately it comes down to quality. We just don't have quality in the final third at the minute. For me. Anyway, it's sort of a few mistakes, a few moments. We're not putting passages of play together where you're thinking, brilliant, that's fantastic. And those motions would then be repeated in games to come. And then you think, okay, there's a little bit of style there, and styles create results, don't they? So that's what I'm just trying to go at. 110's game tonight. I was hoping for a win. I think City might turn us over, but when we play Man U, I think we could get something out of that game. We're not playing Man U, Owen. Vieira set Palace out to press, skillful players to stretch Leeds. Brent's in the building. It's still 5 points, Connor. Even if Everton gain 4 points or honours, we're still ahead. I'll have to have a little bit of a look at the table, mate. To be honest with you, I've not had a look at it. But obviously, if it ends up on goal difference, if it's 4, obviously it's 5 points. But it doesn't make out that way, does it? Because if we're on the same points at the end of the game. At the end of the season, Leeds will go down on goal difference. That's what I'm trying to illustrate, basically. Awesome points, says LJ. Some Leeds fans need to quit worrying about how it looks because the good feeling of football held to skelter with Bielsa would have had you all down. Pretty much championship guarantee, yeah. Josh has said, think he was right about Phillips struggling in the system, just couldn't get into the game at all. Yeah, it's a different system. People don't like it when you mention it with Phillips, Josh. It's not a thing that people will listen to. But in a different system, which it is at the minute, you are not going to see the same Calvin Phillips. You're not. That will not happen, and that's just how it is. It's a completely different way of playing for him. But I've just got down here that the lineup was pretty expected. Once again, I think the Dan James experiment that needs to stop happening because Leeds are essentially just playing the ball long. And it's to Mark Gahey and Anderson, but we called that in the preview, didn't we? We called it in the preview. And I think just sometimes there needs to be a little bit of passing through the lines, get the midfield involved a little bit more. That ball over the top that we're constantly looking for, we're not able to get the ball over the top. We did it once in the first half. When we're on a little bit of a counter-attack. Rafinha played the ball over the top. That's when it did work. But when you're just trying to find Dan James consistently with that ball over the top, the ball over the top's got to be incredible. And he's got to really run the line and stay on side. And I just think, maybe just a little bit of a difference in how we approach those sort of instances would be really advantageous to Leeds United. Starting a different striker, I think Gelhart's just got to start. He really has. Rafinha, I thought, was a little bit isolated in this game. I don't know if you guys thought that, but I thought Palace's press really did isolate him in a sense because, Zaha would be struggling against Ayling consistently and they'd be getting in their own little duels. And then any single time Rafinha get the ball, you get Joel Ward, you get MacArthur coming over, Gueye he'd be covering as well, going in for him. And it almost seemed to be 3-on-1 every time Rafa got the ball. At the back, I thought we were half decent. That clip ball over the top seemed to affect us. There was a couple of instances where I thought I'd be interested to hear what Calvin's saying now, actually, guys, if you want to put it in the chat. I thought Gallagher had way too much space and what he had sort of 3 or 4 really good opportunities where on another day he might put them away. I thought Calvin would be a little bit closer to him, but he wasn't. Only real threat, says PM, was Harrison. Yeah, I guess KP not happy in the interview. That's interesting. I can see his face that he does look downbeat. He does. I mean, when you're looking at body language, I'm being brutally honest with you here. You're looking at body language. He does seem a little bit deflated. Normally he's got a big grin on his face if something's, it's on mute. It's on mute, but I'm not. It's not me being negative. You get this all the time if you're offered a different point of view. It's not. You're looking at his body language there. He's not smiling like he normally is. He doesn't see. Oh, there we go. A little bit of a smile at the end there, but. Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear that back. People, let me know in the comment section below. Palace played well tonight. I think they did. And I think, to be honest, Mockingbird, that was just a little bit of a frustration for me because they played well, but they didn't have anything to play for. Palace, they've got absolutely nothing to play for, whereas Leeds have got everything to play for. And I think we've got to pick something up in our next 3 now. I think there's an expectation. You can't lose these next 3 now. You can't. And it also puts the onus on us having to get something against Brighton and Brentford. There's a lot of people who keep turning around and saying, yeah, but you look at the points total last season, you look at the points total the last season before. There could be a circumstance where this points total this season is the highest it's ever been. You look at this season in the bottom sort of 5-6 compared to the last season's bottom 5-6. It's not on the same level. You only needed 29 points to survive last season. I think the season before that was 35. I think it's going to be higher this season. I think you probably look at 37 as the baseline, but it could be higher. Who knows? With the way these, Burnley, the fixtures that they've got coming up, are Everton going to pick up some more wins? Leeds could obviously pick up some more wins. I think it's going to be a higher total than people think. I really do. But this whole flatline conversation of it's nonchalant. We only need 35 to keep us up. I think it's a bad mentality for your mental health. I think it's just because I think it's going to. There's still going to be a lot of shock results this season. And that could be for Leeds. We could get some shock results 100%. And that's what I'm trying to say. In our next 3, Leeds have to pick something up for me after tonight's game. Maybe if we'd have got 3 points against Palace, I'd have turned around and said, okay, yeah, we could get 3 beatings here. Let's put some good performances in. But just getting a point against Palace, I think we need to pick something up now. Mark Hemingway, I'd laugh my arse off if Leeds got all 9 points the next 3 games. Connor, you're always doubting Leeds. This is a very hard match. No, I'm not, Mark. I love my club. I love my club. I've come on here and I try to talk facts as much as I can. And it's a very odd comment because you're essentially saying there that I wouldn't love the 9 points. You don't watch this channel, fella. I'm a Leeds fan through and through. I bleed Leeds United. Just because I have a different opinion to you doesn't mean you're right and I'm wrong. If we got 9 points, I'd laugh my ass off as well. I think other people need to put their head above the parapet sometimes, maybe. Hi, guys. I am a Darlington FC fan. We were bankrupted in 2012, reformed in 2020. A bit of a confusing comment there. Well, good luck to Darlington, mate. You used to play Darlington when he used to play for York City. Be a realist. Take your Jesse Marsh tinted glasses off. He's not the man to take us forward. He beat a few crap teams, and he's the next big thing. His tactics are the worst in the league. Get rid. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. There's he's done quite well. You have to admit, he has done quite well. Sporting Central. I don't think we can. I mean, that's damning, isn't it? I don't think we can do that. I think we have got to see more of a style of play. Leeds fans do seem to be in this mentality of we don't need to see a style of play. It's all about results. And I agree with that. I've said that. But I think you do need to see more of a style of play. I think in the next coming weeks, you do need to see that. I think the players need to buy into a style of play. They need to know what they're doing. They need to know what they're supposed to be doing in the transitions in certain phases of play. Is it just get rid of the ball and look for Dan James? Or, I mean, are we going to play more narrow and more compact? Because in that game, we looked a little bit more threatening out wide. It still looks a bit mixed. And I understand that. But when a manager has been at the club for sort of 7-8 weeks or whatever he's been here, normally a style does seep through a little bit more. And that's when I think you'll be able to get better results because the players understand it maybe a little bit more. I'm going to got some of your comments. Totally agree. Need 38 or 39. Yeah, I just think it's. I think potentially this could be a season defining one where like last season was when it was the lowest point total and it didn't meet the average. This could be the highest point total. So you have got a very annoying resurgent Burnley. And guys, if we had a fair few decent fixtures in our next three, you'd be coming on here with a completely different tone. But the reality is, it was a good point in isolation, but you have got to take a step back and think, is it going to be enough, for Leeds United? Let's hope so. Touch wood, let's hope so, because Burnley aren't prime Barcelona, Everton aren't prime Barcelona at all. But I do think you saw a little bit from Everton yesterday in that Liverpool game where you pushed them. I thought Liverpool got definitely a little bit rattled. Obviously, you saw Burnley, not conceding a goal against Southampton and Wolves and picking up 6 points. So it is very much on. So we've just got to stay in our lane. We've got points on the board. We are still in the better position, but there has to be an understanding that Leeds need to get points in these next three now. They have to get points in these next three because I do believe Burnley are going to pick up points in their next three. I do believe Everton will pick up points in their next three. Don't know if they'll pick up loads of points. I don't know. I have no idea. But, I think Everton have got Watford away and maybe Brentford at home. In their next three, I believe, or it might be Leicester away. I can't quite recall, but I know Brentford are in there anyway. You would expect Everton to pick something up there. So Leeds have just got to keep ticking over because you really don't want to get to that Brighton game or the Brentford game, Leeds having to get a win. You don't want that to happen, obviously. Rishi, this says we may have to win our last two games. Yeah, it's a big reality, mate. Leeds 5 unbeaten. Only 3 clubs have got more points in the last 5. Geordie, City, and Poole. Yeah, at LUFC, quite right. But I would now look at the caliber of opponents we've got coming up. It's definitely momentum. It's definitely fantastic. He's definitely made a difference. But I mean, they keep flashing it up on Sky Sports now. They know the narrative that's going to be created in the next 5 games. It's definitely one game ticked off. Leeds aren't in the relegation zone, but it's still on. Regardless of any form table, we're going into 3. I think we're going into 5 very, very tough games right now. So there needs to be a win in there for me. That was awful, says James. 5 unbeaten and people are whinging. Remember, we were hammered 5s and 6. We were, Scott. Yeah, we just need to keep doing our thing. Everton next 3 matches: Chelsea at home, Leicester away, Watford away, Burnley. There you go. Thanks for that, Ian. So yeah, it depends whether or not you think maybe Everton are going to nick something against Chelsea. Leicester, I think it'd be a bit tough for them, but you probably look at Watford away, don't you, for Everton, and think, I mean, they've got to pick something up there. Burnley, I think Burnley. Yeah, I think Burnley might be all right. I really do. Point earned. Yeah, it's half glass empty, half glass full, isn't it? That's how we got to look at it. I just try. I'm already looking at Brentford, which is probably a problem on my part. As I've said, I think it's a good point. I just don't know if it's what we need. And I think that's a fair way of putting it. I think there's always going to be people in here who get aggy if you don't come on here and say it's an excellent point and we're staying up, and you know that's always going to happen. That always happens on this channel anyway. 11 and 15 and two straight clean sheets. People looking for things to complain about. Everton will lose some games. NYC fan here really thought Gelhardt could have done something there at the end. Yeah, I think he should have been on for a little bit longer, to be honest, mate. I didn't really understand the Sam Greenwood sub. I think Greenwood's been decent when he's come on, but I think Gelhardt's a game changer. He's a match winner, isn't he? So what we've seen, Gelhardt for me should have started the game, but if you're bringing him on, you bring him on much, much earlier. Than what he did. The click one was interesting. Don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know what's happened there really, but I just think I'm maybe a little bit deflated because I think tonight was a big opportunity for Leeds to, you get to 30. I mean, we're talking if buts and maybes here, aren't we? But you get to 36 points, and that's immense pressure. It's ridiculous pressure on Everton. But it is what it is. Don't see Everton getting much from their next 3 games as they only had 17% possession yesterday and went down every chance they've got. No real chances created, says David. Must improve if we are to pick up more points. Mate, why can't people just take facts? Connor always keeps it real. Honestly, mate, I it's not that I ever think I'm bang on the money, but I try watch a lot of football games, and it's probably a bit of an issue of mine. And I do look at just the teams coming up, and I think I'm hoping I'm wrong, but Leeds are going to have to be a lot better than this. We're going to have to be a lot better than we were against Watford, 100%. There's people saying that we're going to get a point against Chelsea. If we're going to get a point against Chelsea, everybody, we need to be different levels to that. Different levels, and we'll talk about getting results and all this sort of stuff, and that's the main thing. And form table, where we are now. That's all well and good. That's happened. We're in the position that we're in because of that form table, which is excellent. But we've got to look at this next 5 now. We've got to look at this next 5. And this next 5, the performances have to be much better than that. Much better than that to be able to live with any of these. Not obviously Brighton and Brentford are completely different, but at least 3 of the top 4. We need to be, if we're in the game, like we have seen other teams in and around us. We've seen Burnley be in and around the teams in the top 6, haven't we, this season? We've seen Everton beat teams like Arsenal and Man United. If Leeds are going to be in with a chance of getting a result against one of these big boys, which we definitely have that in our arsenal. We have to be much better than that. We have to be much better than that. We have to be much better than we were against Watford. And I think we can all be real there. Man City comes to town, Chelsea comes to town. We go to the Emirates, we play like that. It's going to be a rough night. So yeah, great point. Fantastic points against Watford. Incredible what Jesse's done so far. A massive fan of him, massive supporter of him. Definitely backing him, but it does need to be better than that, in my opinion. Hi, Connor. I know the style of play isn't there, but people need to be realistic. 3 is a Bielsa ball to Jesse tactics. It's going to take time, points, performance. Yeah, definitely. Russ Vernon. Hi, Russ. Selhurst Park is a tough place to go. Got one more point than we did last season at CPFC. Yep, true. All true, mate. Love your content. Thanks for the nice words there, fella. Thank you. As well, guys, we're going to be going through this a lot more in the final word tomorrow. We're going to be talking tactics. We're going to be talking about the relegation picture. We're going to be talking about everything I mentioned to you guys on my previous stream, that I'm going to implement a final word where I'm going to really dissect the game, which is going to be out tomorrow. I want this to be more of your views and my reaction to your comments and a little bit of a debate, because that's what I understand and I really enjoy. So football is subjective. I've given you guys a little bit more of a few of my thoughts, but I really enjoy getting your comments in. I'm trying to read as many as possible. Just hold City for Nick on. We can both be happy. My cousin there, Anthony, in the building. Get to bed, mate. You shouldn't be up watching this when you're a Liverpool fan. 37 points. 37 is the points I reckon we need. Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good point total. Connor, why are we playing long to Dan James? Yeah. I think, and that's when we're talking about the style of play. What are we doing? What are we doing? Because that's sort of 25 minutes. You just hoofing the ball, but he's bringing Greenwood and Gelhardt on, which would give me an understanding that we're trying to win the game. But there's no passages of play from the back. It is just hoofing and getting rid of it. And when we even get into promising positions, it's just getting rid of it. So that's where I just get a little bit confused. It's, you bring some players on, especially when you brought Gelhardt on, when he'd already brought Greenwood on, you thought, oh, he's going for it here. It just looked like that Palace press killed us a little bit. And we've always known with Leeds that when we're up against the press with this team that we have, we really, really struggle. And I thought Palace's press was pretty decent tonight. And I thought it really made Leeds a little bit uncomfortable, especially in the midfield. When you were looking at Robin Koch, I think even when you were looking at Calvin, wide left, when you were looking at Dallas, when the press was being put in on them, Liam Cooper, they were just getting rid of it. And that's what we were doing. We weren't able to play between the lines, whether or not that's because of the quality of player or whether or not that's just a diligent Crystal Palace press. They're two different things. It's based on your opinion. But the answer to the press is Leeds just getting rid of it. And then Palace retrieve the ball because Dan James isn't going to be able to compete with Anderson and Guehi. Then they recover the ball, they recycle, they start playing. So that's just what it was for me throughout the game a little bit. And I'd have just liked to have seen Leeds get the ball on the ground a little bit more and play, even if it is out wide, utilise our wide players who've been much better in the past 6-7 weeks and just have a little bit more familiarity with that. But yeah. We'd have lost that game under Bielsa. Don't disagree. I really don't like Dan James. He works hard, but he has no end product, and the ball stops with him. The thing is, Joss, I'd stick up for him in a way because he's not even played his position. I think his end product, his focus and his concentration can sometimes be absolutely wayward. And I still think when you look at 25 million for him, that's not his fault, but it's a lot of money to pay for someone like Dan James. But he's playing up front all the time. And as a player, as a striker, you need to have hold up. You need to be a very good player at holding the ball up. And we've seen, even in the past sort of 5-6 weeks, Joe Gelhardt is very good at holding the ball up for his stature. He's a stocky lad. He's very good. He has those striker nuances that Dan James doesn't have. But Bielsa continued to pick Dan James. And now Jesse Marsch is doing the exact same in a very, very different system where we're looking long, which makes it even worse. Because at least with Bielsa, we're trying to play through the lines. Not successfully, but at least we're trying to play through the lines. With Jesse Marsch, we're playing longer and we're still playing Dan James up front. That's where it doesn't make sense for me because he's not going to be able to hold the ball up and bring other players in and around him, which is the Jesse Marsch thing. It's all about second balls. So how are we going to be winning second balls if we can't win the ball initially from Dan James? That's where the confusion is for me a little bit, maybe. I'm not going to answer that question, mate. What does everyone else think? Points tally in the next three. What does everybody else think? Lewis, I'd probably disagree with that. I think, I've always said, I think with Liam Cooper, there is going to be a transition. I think with Diego Llorente, there's going to be a transition. I think with Stuart Dallas, there's going to be a transition. Luke Ayling, there's going to be a transition. I think Cooper was good again tonight. I think he was good again tonight. He's nowhere near the worst player. If you look at that back two, if Cooper was called Cooperino and you're putting him up against Diego Llorente, for me, Cooper is the better defender. Diego Llorente is, don't get me wrong, a couple of great blocks at the end, nice header from a corner, but he's all over the place on the ball. I think off the ball, he's like Bambi on ice. And he just doesn't fill you with confidence at all. But I think because he's 18 million, because he's from Real Sociedad, people like that gloss. They like the glam when it comes to Diego Llorente. But when you actually look at the fundamentals of defending in the Premier League, if you're putting Liam Cooper up against Diego Llorente, Liam Cooper's been the better player, in my opinion. We've not seen enough for Robin Koch there, but I think Liam Cooper, when you look at him against Diego Llorente, so that's what it is. I think it's only fair to look at Diego Llorente then as well if you're looking at Liam Cooper, because I actually thought Cooper had a good game. He's had a good game last week. When I always talk about Liam Cooper, I'm talking about how Leeds are going to evolve in the future from Liam Cooper. What's the next step going to be from Liam Cooper, from Matthias Klick, from Stuart Dallas, from Luke Ayling as sort of a cohort. Cooper was good. Strauch, Cresswell, bye, good morning. 5:20 in Perth. All the best, mate. Have a good one. Strike is better than Llorente, surely. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Put some respect on James's name. He's got more goals and assists than Sancho. He ties centre backs out with his pace, which allows the sub strikers a lot more freedom when coming on. Okay, that's fine. Sancho's had an abysmal season, so I don't think that's a good metric, even though, I'm not using that as a baseline measure of Dan James. But he tires centre backs out with his pace. In your opinion, did Guehi and Anderson look tired towards the end of the game when they're marching on into the midfield and playing passes and running into our opposition box as much as they can? And playing like sort of nice passages of play between, like, Guehi and MacArthur and Eze. I didn't ever look at Guehi and thought he looked knackered. If I was looking at anyone and thought they looked knackered, it was Dan James towards the end, because he wasn't getting any joy. He was running his arse off, but he wasn't getting any joy. I don't know if he does tire the defenders out. I think his press does every now and again, but I don't think overall the defenders look knackered tonight at all. Maybe I'm wrong. Um, Llorente was class tonight. I've seen. That's football, isn't it? That's football, isn't it? I'd completely disagree with that. But there we go. I thought Cooper was good. I thought Cooper was good. Be interesting now to see how Jesse sets up against City. It will, mate. 100% will. Happy to see me. Yeah, Meslier. I thought Meslier was a positive for tonight. A real positive. I thought he was really sturdy between the sticks. Came and caught a lot of balls. Especially when you're looking at Zaha. Thank God Elise didn't start, by the way. But yeah, a really good double save as well. Some nice, I think Zaha had a shot at one point as well, and it was a good save. So yeah, I think overall it was a good night for Meslier, which I'm really happy with. I'm really, really happy with. Um, Cara praising Alien right now. There you go. I thought Alien, he was decent. He was decent. He was decent. He's up against. You got to think about who he's up against as well. Wilf Zaha. He's a world class dribbler. A world class dribbler. So it's always going to be a tough evening for him. It really is. And sometimes he was trying to press straight away, but Zaha's just too quick. It's always going to be a difficult night for him, and that's why the system is sometimes going to be much more difficult against teams who like to play wide, as we saw with Aston Villa, as we saw with Wolves in the first half, as we're going to obviously see against Manchester City. When teams play wide, like Crystal Palace do, the onus isn't on our wingers to come back and help the fullbacks. So as you saw numerous times tonight, where it was under Bielsa, where they try and double up, and you'd see Harrison coming back and Rafinha coming back, the onus on them is to stay forward. So you're always going to get wingers isolating our fullbacks. So that was always going to be the case tonight. I tweeted before the game. I said it's going to be a problem tonight. Elise versus Dallas and Zaha versus Ayling. I said that's always going to be a problem. And that will always be a problem for teams who play wide against Leeds United, because we're now set up narrow. That's how we play. We play vertically. So it's definitely something to take into consideration when we're coming up against Man City, when we're coming up against teams who like to play as wide as possible and like to make the pitch as stretched as possible. Apparently Jesse saying players not picking up the system. Click definitely, maybe give bait a go. Is that what he said? I'm gonna have to figure out what he said, to be honest with you. Marsh is working miracles. Yeah, I mean it's interesting with that PSF, because I think it's when you look at the Leeds side, isn't it? A lot of people think that this Leeds side is decent. It's mid-table Premier League. I completely disagree with that. I think last season was a miracle. But I think you've seen this season that the sort of proper, and that's no disrespect to the lads, they've done a wonderful job in getting it to where we need, but we needed regeneration in summer. We needed regeneration in winter, and we didn't get it to the extent that we need. So we're sort of suffering with that now. I think there is a severe lack of quality, and if we do stay in the division this season, it can't just be, oh, it's wonderful we stayed in the division, because that's quite right, but there needs to be action, serious action for this starting 11. But yeah, they're just showing the running now. It's a tough one, isn't it? It's a real tough one. Sitting next for Leeds, then Arsenal away and Chelsea at home. Yeah. So there we go. um, I heard Click had a change of words with Jesse. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that. I don't really know. I don't really know what's been said there. Does anybody think both Burnley and Everton can get 37 points? If so, four more points does. I didn't think they'd get 37 points, but after decent results. But I think we get 4 more points. However, 5 is a stretch. Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, I would to be honest, Colin. I was saying a while ago now that Burnley was still in it, and this was when they were out of it. When they were out of it, just something about Burnley, and I didn't think they'd sack Dyche, but I just continuously looked at their end games and thought a lot of those teams are going to be on the beach. There are a lot of mid-bracket teams. And I thought Burnley could pick up a lot of points there. And annoyingly, they have done. Now, I said Everton are never going to go down. It's going to be between Leeds and Burnley. So that could still play out. There's a lot of twists. There's a lot of turns. It could still be between Everton and Burnley. But I always sort of looked at the end fixtures before making my judgment. And I did look at the end fixtures and think, it's a tough. I mean, we all said this at the start of the season, didn't we? We all turned around at the start of the season and said, I hope it doesn't get to April because of that end. But you listen, it's in our own hands. And we're like that, we're only 4. I mean, we're 3 points behind Aston Villa. We've just got to pick something up against. We've got to pick something up against Man City, Arsenal, or Chelsea. Have to. Trying to see positives and that there's a clean sheet. But with this style of football, we are screwed without a real creative playmaker who can open up a defence. We will struggle. Stephen, it's a big positive that we've managed to grab a point in a sense. Another clean sheet is excellent. I just, when you're actually looking at the game, there was still a lot of problems there for me. It was just how the fullbacks were so isolated. We weren't able to curate really any chances throughout the 90 minutes at all. So a lot of hoofball to a small player again. So I think I need to see a bit more. I do. And I think we all need that. I think we're all thinking that really, aren't we? We need to see a little bit more with the caliber of opposition that we've got coming up. Watford will beat Everton. Hopefully PSF, but I think they've lost 9 home games on the trot, haven't they? So, yeah, hopefully you're right, mate. Hopefully you're right. We stole the point. I'd take it. We will beat City 2-1, says Richie. There we go, mate. I love that. Hopefully. But guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it there. If you wouldn't mind... hold on, I get to Arca's comment. Arca, can Sam Greenwood be the creative midfielder we need? No. No, I think we've got to be careful with Sam Greenwood. Listen, I know I'm going to be the most hated YouTuber on the planet here. I'm so negative on this, that, and the other. But you got to be real with Sam Greenwood. He needs time. He's a young lad. He's come in. He's done well. But I think there's a lot of hype. It needs to just die down a little bit. I still think Gelhardt's on a different level to what Greenwood is. I know what Marsha said about Greenwood, and that's fantastic. But no, he's not the Cam we need for me. He's not. I think even when you look at the Watford game when he sort of like played that ball through from that Cam position and Rodrigo got the goal. That was a simple ball played through, which was inaccurate, and Watford's defence ballsed it up and Rodrigo got in. Listen, obviously had that wonderful touchdown in the Wolves game where Rodrigo took it off his foot, and he's been good in patches, he has. But no, not for me. He's not the Cam that we need to take us forward when we look at these caliber of games coming up. We've just got to rely on you paid 30 million for Rodrigo, you paid 25 million for Dan James. Rafinha got to step up. But we've got to rely on the players that we know we need to rely on. I think it's good. It's a big task, but I think Joffrey's got to be involved a little bit more. Jeremy, I really appreciate that, mate. We would have felt worse if it was a loss. You can tell how it is. Connor, perfect analysis. Not perfect one, mate. It's not a perfect analysis at all, but I just think, getting carried away with a point. I'm happy with the point, as I keep saying. I am happy with the point. It just still, I don't know. I think we need to win tonight. I think we need to win. It just puts so much pressure on us getting something in the next 3 now. So good point. But maybe I'll think differently tomorrow on the final word. Maybe I'll think differently tomorrow. Who knows? But I'll tell you what, I'll leave it there. Thank you, everybody, for joining. 637 of you in the building. If you slap a like on the video, that would be amazing because it shows up in other people's timelines. If you want to share it, if you enjoy the stuff, that would be absolutely fantastic as well. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel, as I always say. And I'll be back tomorrow morning with the final word. Make sure you're tuned in there, guys. Have a great evening, and I'll see you.